The conventional narrative of our origins follows a linear path. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers, only settling into the first agricultural societies a few thousand years ago. However, physical anomalies scattered across the globe challenge this timeline. We find massive, mathematically precise stone structures that appeared long before the era when humans were thought to possess such engineering capabilities. This is Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. Its massive, intricately carved pillars and circular layouts were constructed nearly 12,000 years ago, predating the rise of agriculture and the transition from nomadic life by several millennia. In Egypt, the Great Pyramid stands as another outlier. Its immense scale and precise geographical alignment suggest a level of planning and logistical mastery that does not align with our understanding of early societies. These structures exist as physical proof that our timeline of human progress is missing a critical piece of the story. This mystery isn't limited to stone. It persists in the earliest oral traditions and written myths of cultures that were completely isolated from one another. From Mesopotamia to the Americas, thousands of ancient texts describe a global deluge, a sudden rising flood that destroyed a previous world and forced the human race to restart. Investigator Graham Hancock argues that these global similarities are far too specific to be dismissed as coincidences or local events. Hancock proposes that humanity is suffering from collective amnesia. He suggests a highly sophisticated civilization thrived over 20,000 years ago during the depths of the last ice age. If his hypothesis is correct, these global myths are not fictional folklore, but the surviving historical records of a real physical event. During the Ice Age, much of the planet was buried under massive continental glaciers, creating a world dominated by thick sheets of ice and extreme conditions. Hancock suggests that a sophisticated civilization developed during this period, finding stability in the temperate regions before the climate suddenly turned. This chart shows global temperatures over the last 20,000 years. Around 12,800 years ago, there is a sudden plunge into freezing temperatures, followed by a violent spike, a period of chaos known as the Younger Dryas. Hancock believes this was triggered by a series of cosmic impacts. Fragments striking the ice caps would have released millions of tons of water instantly, causing global fires and cataclysmic floods. The sheer violence of this shift provides the mechanism for how an entire chapter of human history could be erased from the geological record without a trace. After the destruction, small groups of survivors supposedly scattered across the remaining landmasses, attempting to preserve what remained of their knowledge. They used the heavens as a permanent record, creating celestial maps tracking the precise star positions during the catastrophe. By tracking the Earth's slow wobble, known as precession, these astronomical alignments correspond to the exact timeline of the Younger Dryas impacts. This data was also embedded into the physical architecture of ancient sites. Structures like the Great Pyramid use specific mathematical ratios, such as the dimensions of the Earth itself, woven into the length and height of the stone blocks. These myths and measurements function as a transgenerational archive, keeping a record of the disaster alive long after the survivors themselves were gone. Despite the mathematical correlations, these claims face intense scrutiny from the modern scientific community. Traditional archaeology relies on empirical evidence found in the dirt. Proving a culture existed requires a sequence of physical artifacts, like tools and pottery, found in distinct layers of sediment. Critics argue that an advanced global civilization would leave a massive footprint. They point to the total absence of trash, metallurgy, or agricultural debris that should accompany a high-tech society. Alternative researchers counter that mainstream science often ignores unexplainable anomalies. They argue the massive pre-agricultural stones at sites like Göbekli Tepe are physical evidence that current archaeological theories cannot account for. This divide reveals a tension between the need for physical artifacts and the presence of glaring architectural mysteries that suggest a more complex past. The investigation eventually moves away from the physical ruins and into the internal realm of the human mind. Hancock suggests that understanding our ancestors requires exploring altered states of consciousness and the spiritual traditions of ancient cultures. He highlights indigenous shamans as the surviving practitioners of these mental techniques, which were once central to how humanity interacted with the world. This hypothesis suggests a civilization that merged its architectural mastery with distinct states of awareness, viewing reality through a lens modern society has largely discarded. Hancock's message is a call for persistent curiosity, an encouragement to question long-standing assumptions and remain open to the persistent mysteries of the universe. Because the most significant discoveries may not be found in what we have recorded, but in the parts of our story we have forgotten.